live in a world of mass surveillance. We have to understand that every piece of communication that we do, is it online, is it via telephone or whatever, is going to be stored and analyzed by somebody. It is on the one hand the US, the NSA, but also European intelligence agencies like the GCHQ in the UK or the German BND and lots of others. And this is something that we need to stop. This is something where we need to work to re-establish our fundamental rights to privacy and for secret communication. And the court case in Luxembourg on mandatory data retention of telecommunication data was one of the big victories we had recently.
What was that victory? Well, explain for lay people who may not even, who have trouble even, you know, on a computer or haven't been on a computer.
Yeah. Well, basically in 2006, the European Union introduced a law that required telecommunication providers, so mobile phone providers, fixed line phone providers, internet service providers, to record every communication between people. So who is talking to whom, not the contents of the communication, but the fact that person A is communicating with person B, and how long this lasts, and so on. And this information, this metadata, had to be stored for up to 2 years, between 6 months and 2 years. And we fought that from the very beginning, and have been quite unsuccessful for some years. But finally, when it was introduced in Austria, because every member state of the European Union has to implement this piece of legislation in their own jurisdiction. And when it was done in Austria, we started a constitutional court case on that. And together with 11,138 others, we made a complaint, and this was referred to the European Court of Justice, who then ruled that this is in violation of our fundamental rights that are enshrined in the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union. Therefore, the European piece of legislation was annulled. This is the first time in history that the European legislation was annulled entirely and not only in pieces. And following that, also the Austrian Constitutional Court ruled that the Austrian implementation of this law is invalid and is also in violation of fundamental rights of Austrian citizens.
Can you talk about the significance of Edward Snowden's revelations and how they've impacted this debate? In the United States, President Obama has said, you know, well, of course, Edward Snowden has been charged and wanted in the United States to face charges. But he has said this discussion would be happening without Snowden. Is that true?
Well, I think that the main thing that Edward Snowden did to the world is to provide evidence on things that we were suspicious about previously that they might happen, and now we do know it. We do have the facts from the documents, from the NSA, from the GCHQ and other organizations, and therefore we know what we are talking about, that every piece of communication is being monitored, and this is the thing that needs to be addressed. And I think there is no other way than to have a democratic debate about how much of surveillance we are able and willing to accept in our societies, and how far we can do such things in democracies, because it goes to the heart of democracy if you are not longer able to communicate freely, to say what you think, and do that without having the fear of being monitored and having this being held against you. And I think this is the important discussion that we need to lead, and this was started by Edward Snowden, and this is a huge thing that he did to the world and to the society, I think.
And can you talk about the documents that were released around what's happened here? The Austrian newspaper Der Standard reporting that Vienna, who has the reputation of being the spy capital of the world, may now be home to a major surveillance operation by the NSA, talking about tapping networks run by the company Telekom Austria and the University of Vienna, accessing what, some 70% of telecommunications in the Austrian capital.
Well, there is no fixed proof for that, as far as I know, but we do have the suspicion, and it is clear from the NSA documents that Austria plays a major role in this network of surveillance. Austria is named the Tier B partner of the US in this operations, and so we do know that there is something going on. And I think the main question is what is the role of Austrian companies in this, and also what is the role of US companies in this? Because networks are not only provided by Austrian companies, but there are also companies from third countries involved in networking. And so we need to see what their role is and if there is maybe a leak.